Well, greetings, everyone. So glad to be here today with you. My name is Leslie Montgomery, and you are tuned into LKM Kingdom Living. And as today, Minister Wanda is not here, so I'm by myself. But we're going to continue on. We're going to do what we have to do. And I'm so glad to be here with you. Today, we're going to be talking about, do you have a commitment that anchors you in the storm? I think that's a good title for today. Let's get started. So, as I said, I'm happy to be here today with you. I don't know, my chat is gone. I don't know what happened, but so, okay. I don't have a chat today. So, greetings to everyone. I'm glad that you're here. Um, anyway, shalom. Shalom. I'm gonna have to enter from Facebook or something like that. So, as I was saying, I'm glad to be with you today. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to share the word together, to get some insight and enlightenment of what is going on now. The country, or should I say, the eastern, kind of some western areas is really being affected by the storm. And in the process of it being affected by the storm, we are seeing snow. We have snow here in Georgia, which is something unusual, and other areas. And some areas I heard Africa has flooding. There's different storms going on. I might as well say around the world, and in those different storms, there should be a peace. I was looking out the window yesterday with my grandson, and I said, snow is so peaceful, and he's like, peaceful? Why you say that? I said, because it's like a calm when it's snowing. And when you look outside, I'm not talking about driving in it, but I'm talking about as it's falling. And there's a certain thing in the atmosphere that causes there to be a peace. And in that peace, it's like you sit down, you're looking out the window, you're enjoying the beautiful snow, and even in the streets, there's a calmness, that the atmosphere, there's a calmness. There's something that comes along with that purifying called snow. Excuse me. So I'm gonna look in my mirror, and as I look in my mirror, and I was thinking about this, how even through the storm, that we have to realize and understand that there's a peace, a level of peace that we should have. Storms of life, storms of, let's say, on our jobs, storms in our families, storms in our finances, storms in the weather. Uh, we have to find a sense of peace through it all. And sometimes peace doesn't look like what you think it's supposed to look like. So when I look in my mirror, it took me a long time to appreciate myself, not for the outward appearance, but the inward appearance, and how I was created and what I was created for. And when I began to respect that, when I began to get in a place that I could begin to see myself differently, peaceful, and in a place of, yeah, I'm who he created me to be. And I appreciate the fact that he created me. I appreciate the fact that through the process of it, that he still allows me to be here. It's a gift. This morning he was saying life is a gift. And so many times we get caught up in what we're going through. We forget that he is the creator of life. We forget that before the foundation of the earth, he positioned us to be in a place that we understand that he has all things in control. Now, let me play the video that we play every Sunday. Um, First of all, messed up my
What did you do to my sign?
I wrote the same, but in different words.
Thanks, love.
change your words, change your world. And that is so powerful to me. When we're going through a storm, what are we saying? What are we thinking? Do we really understand that the storm only comes to make us? A couple of weeks ago, Apostle spoke on that. He spoke on the storm. And then I was listening to a friend of mine this morning, and she was like, y'all, in so many words, y'all just don't get it. Y'all don't understand that it's in the midst of the storm that the Father is doing something. When the storm comes, you're praying. I'm gonna pray against the storm. I'm gonna pray this and I'm gonna pray that. There's so much that takes place in a storm. One thing I remember, and I'm gonna continue on. One thing I remember, one time I saw a picture, a video, it was real, and how a tornado shifts everything. And in the suburbs, on people's lawns was cows, ducks, things that belong in the on the farm. And it just gave me a different perspective and outlook on life and how things change. So Leslie's Lessons Learned, that you are tuned into, and I'm so glad that you're here today. We talk about life, different aspects of life. We talk about relationships. We talk about faith. We talk about conditioning ourselves to be more what Yahweh wants us to be. We talk about personal growth. We talk about purpose. And that's one thing from the beginning I used to always say, your purpose has a destiny and your destiny has a purpose. If you are living today, it's because there's still something that needs to be done. We're here, and a lot of times we get caught up in thinking that we're here because he just put us here. Why'd you put me here, Lord? Why am I here, Lord? and we want to take our lives, and we want to begin to do things that to harm ourselves, and to just, do things that's not according to his will, because we are broken. And because we are broken, we don't see the bigger plan. We just see where we are. And so many times we get caught up in where we are. And guess what? Our life don't look beautiful. So we can't see the beauty in the day. We only see what we're going through. We only allow ourselves to it's like we put our pity in an incubator and we pat it, and we're saying, uh, um, I don't know why people will be better off without me. And this is not my where I'm going, but let me just stay here for a minute. People will be better off without me. I'm just going to take my life. How selfish are we? And I'm not even going to talk about selfish to our children and our family. I'm going to talk about selfish to the one that created you, because you feel like life is over. You feel like there is no hope. You feel like what you did was the most terrible thing and you can't forgive yourself. You feel like there is more to life, and without me, they'll be better off. No, as long as you're here with a purpose. If you have children, you're here with a purpose. If you have a husband, or you have a wife, and there's a purpose for your life. If you woke up this morning, first of all, understand there is a purpose for your life. It's not just another day. As he was telling me, and he always, his word tells us, he says, every day when you go to sleep, I want you to wake up refreshed. I want you to wake up with a new sense of being. I want you to wake up with a new outlook on life. How many of us wake up as it's just another day? Every day is a new day. Every day he loads us with benefit. His mercies is new every day. There's a refreshing, a refining that comes at night while you're sleeping. And when you wake up, you're not supposed to wake up dragging. You're not supposed to wake up, oh God, it's another day. No, you're supposed to wake up knowing that the Father has gifted you, not just to wake up, but with the breath that you breathe out every day is because of his gift that he's given you, the breath. He gave Adam a gift, and the gift was the breath of life. And every day you wake up, you have the breath of life. And so, we can't walk around pitiful. We can't walk around, woe is me. Yeah, you might have moments, but you can't stay there. You can't stay there. You gotta keep going and not just existing. We have existed for a long time. Now it's time to live. Last week we were talking about um Dr. Glenice coming on, and she's going to be on this month with us, talking about how she was before, when her husband passed away. Her husband was her life, and she's going to come on and talk about that and what that looked like. Minister Wanda was talking about enough is enough, and she's going to talk about how enough was enough with her life, and how her life has completely changed because she put her hands in the master's hands. Where she thought there was no hope, now there's hope. How many of us are recognizing and understanding that we got to know without a shadow of a doubt that it's the Father that has woke you up this morning. It's the Father that breathed breath in your body. It's the Father that's causing you to move and breathe and have your being. He is your creator, and he has a purpose for your life. And you need to understand that. So the other thing we like to say, and I'm just talking, the other thing we like to say is, a life without you is like a world without color. Yeah. So when you woke up this morning and you wondered why you were here, you wonder, is life worth living? Can I say to you that a life without you is like a world without color? We need you. And if you can't say it, I'm going to say it for you. A life without you is like a world without color. And I'm going to say it even for myself. Come on and say it with me. A life without me is like a life with a world without color. What would it be like? You know, you look at some of these sci-fi movies, and it's all weird. There's no color and everything. Everybody's a robot. Everybody's the same. And some of these movies, they're just weird movies. Well, if you are in a place that you feel like that you don't have enough color in your life, you don't understand, should I say, who you are. That's what I'm going to say. You don't understand who you are. So because you don't understand who you are, you make yourself less than. I want you to know today, a life without you is like a world without color. Vibrant world without color. Rainbow. Beautiful colors. We get excited when we see a rainbow because we know what the word says about the rainbow. We get excited when we see you. And the thing of it is a lot of times we stay in that pity place. We stay in that low place. And when we stay there, we miss out on the opportunity to be the best version that we are. You've got to make the choice and decision to be the best version that the Yahweh has created you to be. So once again, I want to say greetings to everyone. I'm so glad that you're here. I can't even see the chat for some reason today. The chat is out. So I need to go over to Facebook or YouTube and I just want to greet everybody, say thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. It's not nothing of myself. It's all because of Yahweh. And for those of you that say Yahweh, Yahweh is the correct name, Hebrew name for God. So you will hear me call him by his name. It's just like someone calling me girl all the time or woman all the time. And it's just, that's a title. Mr. or Mrs. is a title. But my name is Leslie Karen Montgomery. And so when you call me by my name, and if you're not my friend, don't call me Les. You can only call me Les if you're my friend. I mean, more like family. And some people will go just start off from the back. Hey, Les. But what I do know and I do respond to is Leslie. Do you know? When I was young, I did not like my name. I had written up this plan that when I got old enough, I figured out how much it was going to cost. And I was changing my name. I wanted my name to be Yolanda. I was going to be a Yolanda because that was the name I liked. But I'm so grateful that my name is Leslie. I'm so grateful that my aunt named me Leslie. I'm so grateful that because of who I am, I can stand firm in that. And that, that right well, I must say. So I just thought I threw that little bit in there. But we are going to talk about being content in the storm. And there was a clip I wanted to show, and I can't find it. I was like, man, where's that clip? And it talked about being in the storm of life. It talked about even the storms that come to cleanse us, that come to change us. But it talked about the foundation and how if your foundation is not firm, then you most likely when the storm comes, you're not going to make it. Casualties will happen. And even when casualties happen, if we're not in the right place and right standing with the Father, those casualties is going to cause us to be out of alignment. How many of us for so long have been out of alignment? Yeah, out of alignment. We've been out of alignment so long, in life that a lot of times we don't even know what it really looks like to be in alignment. So, as we talk about being in alignment, as we talk about being in a place um, that we see things differently. Uh, they say that you need to see through a glass clearly. When we begin to see things differently and clearly, we begin to understand that all this time we've been in a place, and in that place, where the glass was cloudy. You ever put on contacts, and in the contacts, you got them on backwards, and you can't see clearly, and your eye, it feels like it's full of something in your eye, like something in your eye. Well, sometimes we're like that in life. Sometimes we allow things to get us in a place where we're not sure what's taking place because we can't see clearly. So when you don't see clearly, those are the times you say, is life worth living? If you can't see things clearly, those are the times you say, what's the use? We can't live from that place anymore. We have to live from a place that is clean, and the Father is causing us to understand what it is to be in a place with clarity, because his word brings clarity. And in that space, we get to understand that all the things that we thought was not worth living for becomes worth living for. Why? Our love for life changes. And when our love for life changes, our conditions begin to change. So, we have to understand that we're in a place now in life where it's crucial that we get our grip and our handle on life. We get our grip and our handle on what Yahweh is doing in life, in our life. It's so crucial that we understand that there's a shift in the earth taking place. There's a shift in the atmosphere taking place. And if you're still walking around blindly, you won't even notice it. One of the things that they are doing, excuse me, is there that they have caused our children to be so caught up into the into their cell phones, into their tablets, and for years ago, I'm saying years ago now, wasn't that long ago, but you would see pictures of people falling into the waterfall. You would see pictures people getting hit by cars because they was in their phones. And what happens is, when you're in your phone, when your head is down, you can't see what's going on. And so they're causing our children to miss out on what's taking place in the world because they're so busy on their phones, on roadblocks and all these different games, and always scrolling, and they don't even know what's going on around them. Can I tell you that even if we don't prepare our children, when the storm comes, they're not going to be able to last. They're not going to be able to stand. Um, One of the things I think about is that, as a mother, now this I just found out, you know, I heard about the helicopter mom through Alicia. I just heard this other term they call a snow shovel mother. I was like, what? They got all these terms for mothers that won't let their children go. And I had to learn that I was a helicopter mom, and I had to release my children. Yeah, yeah, I still give advice. I'm still their sounding board, but they're grown. They're grown. One is in the 40s and one is in the late 30s, and they're grown. They have to live their life that the way they have to live. But one thing, my youngest daughter, um, I would try to teach her to cook, and she would go hide because she didn't want to learn how to cook. So when certain things, she would go hide. And I saw the effects of it as she got older. I mean, she could cook now, but it took her a minute. She didn't know how to cook. She didn't want to know how to cook. Now she has children and she has to cook. And she's like, what am I going to do? Well, we have to be prepared in life for what's coming. And, the thing that I want to talk about today is our commitment with the Father that will stabilize us and help us to be in a place of stability when the storm comes, when the storms of life keep raging. That was a song. When the storms of life keep raging in my soul is anchored in the Lord. And that's an old one, but it's truth to that. And we're going to talk about that today. Uh, yeah, we're going to talk about the sovereignty of the Father in our lives. And as I was sitting down thinking about it, and the first thing I thought about was Adam and Eve, and they were in peace in the beginning. They had a peaceful life. They walked around the garden. Everything was peaceful. Everything was settled. They didn't have to worry about anything. And then they made a choice. When they made that choice, it shifted their life. So now they go from being in peace, walking in peace, being with the Father all day long, like the angels. The angels is glorifying him all day now. Angels bow before him. Heaven and earth adore him. What a mighty Elohim we serve. They are called, they are lifting up his name, and they are lifting him up, giving him the glory, giving him the honor, and they are in their rightful place because they know where they belong. How many of us are in our rightful place that when the storm comes, we're able to stand? We're able to be in a place that would cause us to see the salvation of the Lord when the storm comes. How many, the word talks about being on stony ground, being on rocky ground, and being on the, let me see if I can find that real quick. But, what's all that? But we have to understand that we have to get a foundation on in the word. Uh, so it's Matthew's, I think. So even in us going through stony ground and being in a place within the word, knowing that through the storm, who can we talk about that went through a major storm, but they still had a foundation in the Father and it kept them? Job. Job was a good example of someone that went through a storm. Job lost everything. And I'm not saying because Job wasn't, we think that because he went through everything and he came out, that he was just this peaceful person. No, what I heard, what I seen from reading Job, that most of Job's the book of Job is talking about his emotional state, what he went through, how he felt. Even at the end of it, he had to repent. He was like, Father, I'm so sorry. And when he repented and he gave his sacrifice, and then things began to turn around for him. But when he was in that storm, he was like, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. And then his friends was coming around, and they didn't. They weren't only one, but the other ones were no help. Well, you must have sinned. You must have did something. I'm saying it in my own words. And after a while, they stayed there for 7 days. Job was like, y'all got to go. They were just weighing him down, to lose your family, to lose your livestock, to lose your finances. Let's put it that way. To lose your not your home, but all the homes, everything. They said he was well off. He went from being well off to having nothing. And why? He wasn't cursed. No, he wasn't cursed, but he was tested. the enemy said, I'll take everything from him and he'll curse you to the ground. And the father said, he won't curse me. He said, you can have everything but his soul. The enemy did everything to make him bow down. How many of you go through a storm and you want to give up? How many of you go through the storm and say, the Father doesn't, he's not hearing me. He's not here. And you just say, I'm walking away because he's not listening to me. How many of you think that because of what you're going through, that you're cursed? Maybe you're not cursed. Maybe you're tested. We all have to grow. We have to mature. We have to develop. And the only way it's going to happen is to be in a place with the Father that he can make your ground solid. So we know that it talks about in Mark, seed falling on stony ground. Let me turn there real quick. It's in Matthew's 2. But the fact that there's certain foundations, and there's only one that will hold up. Are you willing to sacrifice to make, and not even, you got to sacrifice something, but just say, are you willing to make the commitment to stand, having done all to stand, Are you willing to make the commitment to see it through? Job saw it through. He came to a place of realization, but one thing he never did, he said, Father, I don't know what you're doing. I know you're the creator. I know you all this, and him and the father was coming back saying, I made this and I made that. What makes you? But the fact of the matter that he kept seeking God's face, Elohim's face, Yahweh's face. He kept seeking him. He stayed in his face. One thing I learned about, and yes, I keep saying I'm going to talk about it because my Sabbath has changed my life. And one thing I recognized yesterday in Sabbath, the more I get into my Sabbath, the more I find myself respecting the word, respecting Elohim and who he is. It humbles me. There's a certain humbleness that comes with me sitting at his feet and being still. Man, the word comes alive. He says it's the sacred things. He says, I'll reveal the sacred things. You've got to be in position to receive those secret things. He don't talk to me, are you still? He's not telling me nothing. Do you sit down? Or do you look at your watch and say, I don't have time. I'm going to come back, Father. And then you never come back. That commitment you made when you gave your life to him, that was just a commitment. It's a process. The commitment takes time. The commitment takes a process. The commitment takes a foundation. And you got to have a foundation in order to make it in the process. So in Mark, the 4th chapter, 5 and 6, and it says, and some fell on stony ground where it was not much earth, and immediately it sprung up, but it had no depth of earth. And then 6 says, but when the sun was up, it scorched and became, how about we do this? It scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no fruit. The other fell on good ground, commitment, giving up something for something better, and did yield fruit. Hallelujah. There's some fruits we need to yield. One of the fruits is the fruit of the Spirit. How about we start working on our commitment, that when people see us, they see the fruit, they see Yahweh and not us. Well, man, forget it. We've been on stony ground. It says, what does it say about it? Stony ground where it had no earth, it's no foundation. There was nothing to hold it. I think about the three little pigs, and they probably got it from this, and how one built his house, I can't even remember, with straw. One built his house with, I think, mud, and one drilled his house with brick. And the wolf came, and the first two the wolf was able to conquer, but that last one he couldn't. He had foundation. He had he had the hedge of protection around him. That's what I want to say. He had a red hedge of protection around him, and the wolf couldn't get to him. Well, look, we want that good ground. It says others fell on good ground and did yield fruit and sprung up, and increasing in both fourth and third, and some 60. So some 40, some 30, some 60, and some 100. Man, we got to get to a place with that our ground is solid. We need a solid ground so that when the fruit come up, the fruit is worthy, or the fruit is prosperous, that the fruit is to the Father is useful. We need to become useful in the kingdom. And what I'm talking about now is the commitment that you have with being in the kingdom. So I want you to realize that, yeah, we don't have time right now for stony ground. We don't even have time to be passive. We've got to come from being passive to being in a place that we are firm. That when you're passive, it's easy for the enemy to make you see things differently. He did that to Eve. Eve began to see things differently. She began to think differently because that ground wasn't fertilized, or should I say, wasn't that found. And I probably shouldn't even use the word ground for her, but I'm just going to use it so that you can understand that even through the process, that there's got to be some growth. And no, she didn't. She was probably right where she needed to be, but in the aspect of it, she was able, because idle mind, and I'm just saying this, I don't know whether she had an idle mind or not, but an idle mind is the workshop for the enemy. So she was in a place that he could get to. And one thing I always say, and probably some people will say that's not true. One thing I can really say about women, we like conversation. We do. We like conversation. And one of the things that most men hate when you say, can we talk for a minute? Or I got something I want to talk to you about. They're like, oh God, here we go. Because we love conversation. So I can imagine the serpent, because she wasn't afraid of the serpent. The serpent was a part of the garden. The animals was a part of it. So she wasn't afraid of him. So the enemy used that. And when he came to her, then started conversating with her and began to let her see things differently. When you're in a place of, and not her, but when you're in a place of brokenness, when you're in a place of pity, you see things differently. You don't see the colors of the world. You don't see yourself as color. You begin to come into agreement with what the enemy say. So where's your commitment? Your commitment becomes to the enemy, because you're sitting back just like she did. She's like, yeah, we're going to be just like him. She was like, yeah, we could eat that fruit. Ain't nothing going to happen to us. It's the same thing. When you come into agreement with him, when he tells you, oh, she's better looking than you, just simple things I'm throwing out here. Man, when, excuse me, when when you're in a conference and you're one of the speakers, and the one before you got up and you're like, I don't have what it takes. I think about Les Brown, and Les Brown talked about when he first started. And I think he was going into an interview or something like that, and he was nervous. He said he went in the bathroom, and started talking to himself, building up his confidence, telling himself who he was. How many of us are doing that, or do we shrink down, afraid to do and be who we've been called to be? Who is your covenant with? Is your covenant with the world? In the world, the way that the world is telling you things are? Or is your covenant with the Father? And your covenant says that I'm committed to you. No matter what comes my way, I'm going to stand on your word. And I promise you, even when you stand on his word is bigger than your thoughts, and his words can help change your mindset. His word. We can think. I want to let's. What's his name? Paul. Real quick. When we can. Paul. He was having a fit. Having a fit. He was like, "Look now, I don't come to you with this, and I can, and I'm just saying it my way. I don't come to you about this issue, and I still got it. You ain't doing nothing about it. Excuse my language, not my language, but the way I'm speaking. I'm not speaking very proper today, but I'm just saying. He's like, I come to you, you ain't doing nothing, and it's still bothering me. But what I like about Paul is that Paul recognized his commitment. He recognized who he was in relationship to. And even though he was going through, and that's Philippians, the fourth chapter, the 11th verse, and it says, not that I speak, not that my speech, no, that's not it. Um, it's in the fourth chapter, though. Oh, yeah, no, I'm too far up, I think. This is another verse. This is when he's in prison. But in this, I can use this, and it says in Philippians 4 and 11, not that I speak in respect of want, or I have learned, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therefore to be content. Are you content? The contentment brings about a peace. He says, I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things, I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to be bound, abound, and to suffer need. I can do all things through the Messiah, which strengthens me. So, in other words, Paul was like, I'm not going to move from this space. I'm going to stay here. Why? Because through life's experiences, I've learned that whatever side of if I'm in the storm or if I'm not, I can stand. And I know how to cope either way. So have we learned in our situations, our storms, have we really learned how to cope because our commitment is bigger than we are? Have we taken the time to sit with the Father and allow him to pour into us when those times comes to give us instructions on how to be, how to do, and what to do? It's very important. In order for us to come out of the storm and receive the benefits that the Father has for us, we have to learn how to keep on the, what they say, the horns of the altar. We have to learn how to stay in his face. We have to allow him, not for us to be, I made a commitment, I'm saved, and you're not doing anything. Don't you see what I'm going through? That's what Paul was kind of saying. And don't you see what I'm going through? And there's others in the Bible that said, don't you see what I'm going through? Moses was like when he was bringing the Israelites out. Don't you see what they're going through? And they came to him and they was like, why you bringing us out here in this wilderness to die? And the commitment that the Father was trying to get from them was to be still and see the salvation of the Lord, for them to come into a commitment and a covenant with him, that even in the midst of it, even in the midst of the storm, that they can see what he's doing. Why? Because the whole time they were in the wilderness, he was taking care of them, but they never saw the beauty in the day. The day it was a beautiful day, and they every day they had food. They had food in the morning, and they had food in the evening. Their shoes never wore out. Their clothes never wore out. Everything they asked the Father for. We're thirsty. We don't have no water. They got water. Everything he provided for them, but they never saw the beauty in it. Only thing they kept saying is what they didn't have. Only thing they kept doing was complain about what they didn't have, what he wasn't doing. Have you taken the time? And yes, we make the commitment. Come into my heart. Save me. Forgive me. I'm a sinner. Lead me. Take all this unclean stuff out of me. And then we go on living, because somebody said, once you're saved, you're always saved. So you don't need to really make your commitment any stronger. You don't even need to go any further. That is just the first step. When you go to somebody's house and you knock on their door, they open the door and say, come in. You come right into, and some people, you let them into the front door and they ain't coming no further. But the Father wants you to come all the way in. Your commitment to asking him to come into your life is just the first step. It's like when you have a baby, or when you have a baby, the first commitment is that, oh, I'm going to take care of this child. So you have your baby. You bring your baby home. Everything your baby needs, you have. It's right here for the baby. But your baby's got to grow. You got to help it grow. So it's our responsibility to feed the baby. It's our responsibility in the beginning to make sure that the baby's getting enough milk, to make sure that the baby is changed, to make sure that the baby is not hungry. It's our responsibility to come in, to bring that baby in. When you first come in, you're a baby. And now you got to be fed. You've got to be clothed in righteousness. You've got to be able to stand when things come up against you. But you don't know how to do that unless you're taught. So you ask him to come into your life. Now you've got to be taught. And then the word talks about, and Paul talks about going from milk to meat. Well, you might be on milk for a while. Babies are on milk, and at least for 6 months before the doctors say you can feed them. Might be a little older than that, but us as parents, we know that we put a little cereal in their milk, but I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about what the doctors say. So, and right now you're in the home as a baby. You've got to learn. You've got to learn. A baby has to learn how to suck on the bottle. It talks about sucking from the mother's breast. Got to learn how to suck on the bottle. You got to learn how, as the baby grows, you start out with maybe 2 ounces, 4 ounces, and as the baby grows, it goes to 6 ounces. Then you got an 8 ounce bottle that you're giving the baby every so many hours, or so many hours, and then you got to make sure the baby's changed, and you want to make sure that he's not wet and he doesn't have a rash. Well, you're going through the same process when you give your life to the Father. He's going to make sure that you're fed what the word. He's going to make sure that you're not what you call dehydrated. The Spirit's going to lead you and guide you, and you're going to have life, and have life more abundantly, and you're going to grow to from an infant to a toddler. And wait, what about some babies walk or early, and some about 8 months they begin to walk, and then first they got to crawl first. So first you're crawling, you're learning the word. And one thing about crawling, and one thing about when you start taking your first steps that's interesting is that when you're in the word and you start getting a little bit of knowledge, and you think that you got it all, and when babies start walking, then they start running, you want to run, but you're not ready. So you fall down, and you skid your knee, because you weren't even prepared for what you thought you were prepared for. So now you know the little word. You want to go out and teach the word. You want to go out and you want to put you want to have your business cards, and you want your name in lights, and you want to go and sit on the podium with the other pastors. You want to do all these things, but you're not ready. Babies have to crawl, then they walk. And then after they walk, they become toddlers. And then as they become toddlers and they learn things, you really start trying to teach them their ABCs, and you really start trying to teach them their numbers. You start trying, and then you're like, and you want to teach them how to go to the potty. And no more diapers. We're going to get you out of the diapers, and we want you to come to a place where you now know how to go to the potty. And even with children, and at a certain age, they don't want to go to the bathroom. They're playing, they're having fun. And then my grandson, he'll be sitting there. I say, you got to go to the bathroom. No, I don't. No, I don't. Crossing his legs and all. That's how children do. They don't want to do, they don't want to miss anything. So we want to be that way, even with the word. And when the Father says it's time to get into the word, we want to we don't want to say, I can't do it now, I'll do it later. We want to get into the word. Why? He's got something he wants to say to you. He wants to develop you. He wants to grow you up. He wants you to go from toddler to being a young person, from being a young person to being a young adult, from being a young adult to being an adult. And we have to go through those different stages of life, even with our walk with him, to get to where he wants us to be. And now you can begin to recognize or understand where you are with the word, or how you're developing. So my Sabbath causes me to be developed. And for me to go into Sabbath, I had to make a commitment. And when I'm in the Sabbath and I make that commitment, I have peace. And when the storm comes, and you ever had a storm come in your life, and you're like, I don't know what it is, but on the inside, I just have peace. That is the Father, the word. That is your covenant. That is your experience in the Father. That is your foundation. Now you're on good ground. You're on good ground. So when you're on good ground, things begin to happen differently. And when things begin to happen differently, your life changes. You feel different. You begin to act different. And that's what the Father wants. He wants those fruits of the Spirit to be more alive in us than the things of the world. So in Second Corinthians, the 13th, the 12th chapter, I got it as I was talking. And in here, Paul is talking about the thorn of his flesh. He's talking about, and he's looking at what he's going through. And how many times we look at what we're going through, and then we forget who the Father is in our life. Well, he was going through. He was talking about, like I said, I done come to you 3 times, and Satan has buffeted me, and da 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 and da 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 da. And then in verse 8 it says, For things for this thing I sought, so is Adonai the word thrice, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. When you're weak, when you get into that word, when you sit at the Father's feet, he is preparing you. He is, when I say prepare, you can't go into battle. As the military, you commit to going into war. You commit to going where they send you, but you can't go in there unprepared. My father told us one time, he was in Vietnam, I think it was, I can't remember which one. And he said the alarm sounded and he slipped out the wrong door. And he said the enemy was right there and he slipped back in and went out the back door. If he was not prepared, he might have not remembered to go back where he came from. He went back inside. Hallelujah. He went back inside to go the way that he. How many of us remember to go back inside the place of safety and get our thoughts together and go out the right way? So Paul, he says, this is what Paul said, and I love it. He says, most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmity. I rather glory in my storm of life, that the power of the Messiah might rest upon me. Hallelujah. The power of Adonai, the word that would rest upon me. He says, therefore, I take pleasure in my infirmity. He's like, this is not even worth me worrying about. In reproach, in necessity, in persecution, in distress, for I can say Yeshua, I can say sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Why? He was weak in his own feelings, his own emotions. And he said, now I'm coming out of my emotions and I'm getting into the Father and allowing the Father to strengthen me. He says in 11, I am become a fool in glory, yet have compelled me, for I ought to have been commended of you, for in nothing am I behind the very chief apostle. Therefore, I be nothing. So, in other words, he's just like, and he goes down, he talks about the 3 times again in the 14th verse, and he says, I am ready to come to you, and I will not be burdensome to you, for I seek not I seek not yours, but you. For the children ought not to lay up for the parents, but the parents for the children. So Paul's perspective on things changed. In your commitment, there are promises that the Father makes to you. When you ask him to come into your heart, when you ask him to change you, when you ask him to create in you a clean heart, David said, Father, create in me a clean heart, renew a right spirit within me. And he says it's what's on the inside of me that you're concerned about. He's concerned about what is on the inside of you, because what's on the inside of you, he wants it to reflect him. So no matter what you're going through, he's going to see you through if you hold on. If you hold on. Stop thinking that your life is worthless. Stop thinking you have nothing to offer. Stop thinking that someone else can do it. Someone else is always going to be better than us. Someone else is always going to be powerful than us. But it doesn't make, in the eyes of God, they're still the same. We are all his children. Do I have times when I hear people and I'm like, I'm not saying nothing no more? I do. Do I have times when I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could speak like that? I do. Do I have times when I look at my situation and what I'm going through and say, what can I do? Not what can the Father do? What can I do to change it? I can't do anything that would perfect it the way the Word and the Father will. He has a promise, and his promises to you are yea and amen. And whatever you're going through, I promise you, he will see you through. It's not a matter of when, it's a matter of he will. And one thing about it, you got to learn your lesson. You got to learn something in the storm. Not just that you want the storm to be over, but that you're learning through the storm. So remember, is your commitment able to last in the storm? Are you in a place that your commitment is more powerful than what you're going through? Are you anchored? What is an anchor? The ships have anchors. And when they get to the place that they want to, they put that anchor in the ground. And can't nothing move that ship. Some of them have two anchors. Depends on the size of the ship. But they are resting assuring that nothing is going to move that ship. Have you thrown your anchor in? Are you secure in your salvation? It wasn't my message for the day, but that's the one that we talked about. Be very sure that your anchor is in the Lord. Till we meet again. I'll be back at 5 this evening with some friends of mine, some sisters. We all went to the same church and now we're all retired. We'll be back at 5 talking about retirement. If you have a chance, join us. But most importantly, get an anchor in the Lord so that you can stand against the evil days. And what? Having done all to stand, stand. And the word tells us that's so right. That it tells us to put on the whole armor. It tells us to cover ourselves, put ourselves in place. Excuse me. That we can stand in the wild and evil days. And these days was a wild and an evil day. Could be a storm. Can you stand? Are you able to stand? Having done all to stand, stand. So, stand on the word, stand in the word. Put that word on the inside of you. Let that word saturate you. Let that word begin to take root in your life. We talked about the stony ground. Let's get off the stony ground. Let's get a firm foundation. In Philippians 4:8, it says, finally, my brother, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report. Remember, we heard that the solid ground is where it's good. That's where the good report comes from. So many words. If there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Think on them. Think of what would make your life more effective. Think on whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are love you, whatsoever things are good report, whatsoever things are honesty. Think on them. Those things which ye have both learned, gotta learn it, and received, and heard, and seen in me, do, and Elohim of peace shall be with you. There's a level of peace we've got to get to. So as you go through your week, change your mindset, change your words, change your world. Change what you think, it'll change your world. We live for the kingdom and the kingdom that's within us. Have an amazing rest of the day. But remember, I love you. I can never love you the way that Yahweh can. Go in peace.